Today we're taking a quick look at the filter formula. So I have some quick tips here. I'm not going to go through all these, but you can pause the video if you want to read through these. So what we want to look at right now is the filter formula itself, which is returning a range based on one or more conditions that you specify. So we have some examples here and some just notes. So let's go ahead and just dive right in. So I have some source data over here in this source table, and we want to bring in here based on some filter criteria. So I'm going to go ahead and just start typing out my filter formula. If you don't see the help prompt, you can click on this formula help and you can see this pop up. It may show like this immediately, but you can just pop up like this and you can see some examples and a little more description there. So we're going to go ahead and select our table, and so you can either click and drag to select it, or you can simply type it in using the keyboard. One thing to note is you can specify the end reference to specify the end of the table, or you can leave it off in Google Sheets and it will just go down to the end of the sheet. So we've selected our table, and then I want to narrow down by fruit, and so I'm going to go ahead and just select this. One thing to note is you want these to be the same length. So right now we'd have an issue because we don't have an end reference there, so we could either do 5 through 22 like this, or we can leave it off both. And now I'm going to make my first condition. So we have, remember, our range, and now we're specifying our first condition. And so in filter, you just use a equals, greater than, less than, greater than, equals, and so forth. The math comparison's right there. And so we're going to just do apples, and then now we can see that our apples return from there. And so you can see that is equivalent to our formula over here. So next we're going to actually reference this cell, and this is a drop down. So this allows us to toggle between different cells. So here we can just do J3, and we still have the same data, but if we toggle this, we can see now it is tied to this cell, as you can see right here. So that's super basics as far as text goes. So you can use double quotes to specify directly, or you can tag a cell, use a cell reference to be able to use either a standard text, or you can use a drop down to toggle what's happening. All right, so let's go ahead and look at dates. And so again, I got some examples over here. And so let's go ahead and just filter by a manual date first. And so we're going to grab our table, and then we got to specify our date column. And let's just do greater than, and then we can do date 2023, 4, 5, like that. You can see now that we only have 4, 6. We change this to greater than or equals to. Now it's going to include 5. We can do less than equals to, see everything there. We can do less than and see everything before 5, and so forth. Now we can also do this with a cell. So if we go ahead and select, let's say 4, 5 in here, we can do the same thing, get rid of this date and use the cell reference. And you can see it that way. Since we're using this as a start date, it's probably more appropriate to go greater than, and we can do inclusive, greater than or equals to, just like that. And you can see there is our results. Maybe we want to specify end date, maybe we want to restrict to just 4, 5. And so then what we need to do is we're going to go into our next table and show how to do multiple criteria. So in here we have a formula that looks a little more complicated, but it's very simple. It's just stringing multiple conditions. And so let's go ahead and grab our source table. And first of all, let's do our date. And so we've already seen how to do this before. And I'm going to do greater than or equals to this date, which is currently blank. And then we're going to grab this again. And now we're going to do less than or equals to our end date. So currently we're going to have an NA error because we don't have any dates specified. So let's go ahead and just select, let's say 4, 3 through 4, 5. So you can see now that we're returning all of our data. We actually don't have any for 4, 3, so it's returning 4, 4, and 4, 5. So that's good for doing our dates, but one thing to notice is that the filter function, you can actually keep adding as many as you want. So we can go ahead and add another one, and we can actually select our fruit and tie it to our fruit cell. So you can see now we're getting an error again because this is blank. So if we select apples though, now we can see all of our sales between 4.3 and 4.5 for apples. We can go to oranges, or we can go to peaches. Then if we toggle this back and forth, we can expand our date range or close it just like that, and toggle our fruit. All right, finally, let's look at just doing simple math. And so here we're going to look at equals to, greater than, or less than. And so this is going to be the exact same as we've done before. This time we're going to use the quantity column, and we're just going to do equals to this, which looks like we just have 1, which is oranges on 4.4. So right here. So we change another one to 10 over here. You can see now it returns it because it's equal to 10. So now let's look at the greater than 40. And you can see now we have 42 and 41. It's 41 and 42 right there. And finally, let's look at the less than and compare it to this cell. You can see now we have everything less than 20. All right, that is it for today. Hopefully that helps you get started with using the filter function in your project.